This meeting is being recorded. Welcome back. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is the planning, and we're going to get into some of connections phase or pillar of success of your recruiting journey. And to reiterate, wherever you are in the recruiting journey is great. And coming to this call, you can take this call, take what you need from this call, and leave what you don't. This will be an opportunity for you to step by step kind of lay out a plan for execution, which is, as we know, a really good life skill to be able to set a goal and say, I want that in 2 years, I want that in 7 years, and to reverse engineer that goal so that you can shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you land amongst the stars, which I definitely have that story in my recruiting journey. So I went for UNC. That was like everywhere I wanted to go. I was on the Carolina Fever. Jenny Levy was my club coach or club director, and when I went to camp at UNC, it was like the recruiting camp, and I was all thinking I'm hot, and that I'm just going to UNC. I think this was junior year, maybe junior summer. I wasn't put in the group that UNC was really looking at. So emotional intelligence wise, which we went over in the mindset phase, and if you haven't watched that video, please do so. Emotional intelligence wise, I wasn't emotionally intelligent. Might have been premenstrual as well. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention at that point. But oh my God, my heart broke, and I left camp early. I called my dad crying, and he bailed me out and let me come home from camp early. Now I look back on that experience, like, of course, long story short, I picked myself up and I ended up going to Old Dominion, we were top 20 at some point, or at one point. I was training with the women who were executing a top 20 team at one point, my freshman or might have been sophomore year. Anyways, so all of that is to say, and then all of that's to say that you might have a vision right now that we are clarifying and that we worked on in the mindset phase. You might have a vision right now that whenever you get there, it looks a little bit different, but because you shot for that vision, you got so close to this other reality that is aligned and is happy and is a good thing. So my puppy might make noise, and that's okay. Okay, so what you've done so far in this journey is you've done the 4 phases of the recruiting process overview. So that first video recruiting call where the Catawba College head coach, Caitlin Corris, who's also coaching with us this summer for middle school, she's on there answering the questions. What do you look for in an athlete during the recruiting process? What is the best way to communicate with you? Tips and tricks. What are deal breakers or red flags? What is the biggest difference between college lacrosse and high school lacrosse? And then what was her favorite part of collegiate lacrosse, both playing and coaching? Those are really good. That's a really good interview to return to. By the way, if you're on here live and you have my phone number and I start skipping so much because of my internet, text me. Okay, so you'll want to review that. Make sure, because as you move into your planning phase, you can use that information to inform goal setting and principles of how you will act and what you will do in order to achieve your dreams. And then there's also a college player, current college player at Converse College, who answers questions like, if you could go back, what would you have done differently in your recruiting journey? What was the best part of the recruiting journey for you? How did you decide to pursue collegiate lacrosse? What is the biggest difference between college and high school lacrosse? And then what's her favorite part? So ask the questions, find the mentors, and do the program as it's intended, because it all flows towards, like, there's a cadence to this, because you're building blocks now. Your next step from that, by now your coach should know you're interested in playing lacrosse in college. You should be following the Miners YouTube, because we're going to be adding to this as we move. And then, as you're doing right now, your next step is to follow those 4 pillars of success, which are mindset, planning, connections, and negotiations. Great. Welcome to the planning phase. So what we're going to talk about over this phase is what does it mean to map out your ideal college roadmap? So what does success look like for you? In business, you might call this KPIs, or key performance indicators. Basically, how do we know that we're doing well? I love to win, so I try to win as often as possible. So what does a win look like for you in each phase of this experience? Because you're simultaneously becoming a better lacrosse player, and participating in a travel team or your rec program, you're simultaneously building towards this college vision. So how do you experience all of that well? And how do you do all of that really well? We'll talk about asking the right questions. So one way to go about this is to show up to a college coach's office and sit there and just like answer questions that they ask you. You can do that, and you'd probably find a place to play. What you could also do is become a person that kind of interviews the college coach back, right? Like, if you've done this entire process and you have a clear vision for what you want from a college experience, then you're showing up with more information and more questions that you can ask a college coach about their program. Things like this include, like, how long do you envision yourself being at this school? These are, what's your coaching philosophy like? What's your team dynamic like? And listen for the answer. I mean, listen for whether it feels aligned or if it does not. Something I want you to remember is that thought follows feeling. So this is the emotional intelligence and like mindset science that we talked about in the mindset phase. Again, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. Pause me, go watch it. But the science of kind of our body is that our sensory input comes in and goes through the amygdala, or our feeling brain, before it goes to our thinking brain. So whenever I'm asking you these questions in the planning phase, in the mindset phase, and you're creating a vision, see what you feel first and then start thinking about it. Oftentimes we start with the thinking and we're like like we're so up in our brain that we can't even come down to like, but how do we want to feel when we go through college? And that is important to this whole process, and it's important in your life. So it's important to be able to go into a job interview and like ask them, hey, is my moving costs, are my moving costs covered? Or what's the team culture like? What are your expectations of me in the course of 4 years? Do you envision me playing? Or what more do you need to know about me in order to make a decision? And to know what more you need to know before you make a decision, so you can have a clear communication with them. Whew. So asking the right questions is something that we will talk about. We will also cover your homework assignment for making your daily, weekly, monthly success plan. And this all flows into mapping your ideal college roadmap. We're going to answer the questions of like, what are you going to need? What tools are you going to need to make this happen? What do you actually have to do? How often do you need to show up somewhere? What are you willing to give? How much are you willing to work? Like, because the conversation about D1, D2, D3, the level of those divisions, and even the level of club experiences, all becomes really important. And if you're a freshman right now and you want to go top tier D1, I have a different conversation and a different timeline, a different trajectory than like a rising senior who hasn't compound effect put in, or at least hasn't developed in a way that it's a realistic goal for them over the course of that amount of time. Because, work ethic will be talent, but talent's important. Athletic ability. What is your physicality able to do? And it's like a soundboard, or a soundboard where you can like adjust different levels. Like, we want to find your level, and that's something you'll want to consult with your coach about. If you play for the minors, I would love to have that conversation with you. And a lot of times it's your director that you can really ask that real talk conversation, because some people need to be told like it's a no. Like, I don't like, it just is where it is. But you can still have an incredible experience, but make sure you're attaining a goal that's even possible. Okay. And then you have that daily, weekly, monthly success plan. You know what you need to do. What is the support system that you're going to need for execution? So who do you need? What, the example that I give is, if your goal is to drink a gallon of water in a day, an easily attainable tool that you could get is a large water bottle that you have to fill up twice in a day and drink, and you've like checked the box. So setting yourself up for success. If you have footwork that needs developing, like that, like you're not quick or you're not strong enough to attain your goal right now, then what's the plan for that? Is there any investment opportunity from your guardians or support systems around you? If you get a job, like, can you put money towards that? What can you get? YouTube, find the YouTube link or find the training program, just stuff like that. And then, because I want this to be included in the planning video, so you can go to both things in one video, we will talk about connections as well within this call. Because our follow-up calls on connections, really the follow-ups to connections is connecting and working with your coaches, working with your mentors. So the connections phase is a lot of doing. There's a little planning, but like we're planning right now. Okay. Mapping your ideal college roadmap. One of my first questions is, when do you want to be committed to a college by? Like what's your like, I want to be a part of a college. I want to sign, seal, and deliver my junior year, or I'm comfortable, investigating through my fall senior year. When do you want to be committed to a program by? Because then you can reverse engineer that. How do you want to feel during this experience? How do you want the relationship with your family, with your support system, like how do you want that to develop through this process? Because I can tell you some of my most shining, wonderful moments with my dad, and with my mom, but my dad was my coach, was lacrosse. So, where can you like strengthen relationships around you through this experience? Because there's going to come a time when everybody's stressed or something goes down, and you want to have built the foundations and set the intentions to experience this in a nice way. Who do you want to become in the process? Like, are there any mentors, or is there a player on a specific team that you're like, that player plays like I want to play? Like, I'm going to watch their film. I'm going to follow their journey. I think they're a good person too. I'm going to follow them on Instagram. I'm going to support them. I'm going to learn from them. You can do that without actually knowing someone or like signing up for travel, right? You can do that anytime, in any way. This is also applicable in the real world. Okay. Because all of these questions are really important when you go to make your success plan. Like, I'm going to tell you, I would want to be a dedicated athlete that shows up to 30 minutes to 2 hours a day, because if practice is a couple hours, but at least 30 minutes a day to my stick work, right? Non-negotiable. It's just what I do. I factor it into everything, because I'm telling you, you can't be great if you don't have stick work. I want to be an athlete who eats well, or at least continues to learn more about nutrition. I want to be an athlete that keeps my nose clean. I don't want to get caught at any parties or out late. Nothing good happens after midnight. And like, I want to make sure that my athletic career is safeguarded, and the best way to do that is to be a good person, right? And so, yeah, asking yourself those questions. Basically, you're creating like this avatar of a person, based on the achievement, like where you want to go, what do you want to do. Like, some of you, and I'm talking specifically to our summer right now, but this is applicable if you're watching on the YouTubes in the future, but some of you want like serious academics, right? Some kind of engineering that like I hadn't even heard of. Like, there's all kinds of goals that you might have and switches that you switch in the motherboard. So part of your plan will need to be, I have to get a 4.0 unweighted, or 4 point, whatever. So what is required of the person that has the 4.0 by the time they're graduating? studying, hours and hours of studying a week. Build it into your plan. It's what you do. It's just who you are. You're living your goals, so you're building in the necessary steps towards the thing you want. Now, I'm not promising you that you're going to get the exact thing you want. I will promise you you'll feel better about wherever you do land, because you've consistently shown up and you're more likely to get closer there. Okay. So you want to think through those questions. Journal on this. Like, what's your vision for the feelings of your ideal college experience? Okay, and we touched on the second thing before, but asking the right questions. You want to become much better at asking yourself the right questions, but then acquiring the skill set to ask your mentors and potential college coaches the right questions, and potential teammates. You're going to go on college visits, right? And there's a whole conversation that my summer travel will have with me. I might put it on YouTube at some point, about what a college visit should look like. Okay. There's a lot of opportunity in college visits, and it really is important that you've mapped out that roadmap before you go, which is great. If you follow this trajectory, especially if you're in summer club right now, you'll be ready for college visits by this fall. Some of you won't be allowed to do that yet because of your age. So asking the right questions. When it comes to working with your support system that you've identified, the people that are going to, and the things that are going to help you get there, you want to also make sure that you're asking them the right questions, and that you are laying out and being intentional about telling people what your goals are, because they'll help you stay accountable. And at least in my experience, the more I say something out loud, the more I solidify that, like, I'm doing that, I'm moving towards that, I'm being seen in that. So share your plans with people. Once you have this plan, share it with your teammates. Let your teammates know, like, hey, I want to raise my assists in our games. Like, I want college coaches to see me assisting, and I also want to experience and just get better at it. Are you in? And now you have a teammate. Now you have someone who's going to help you execute your goals. Community. Great. All right. So this all bleeds into the daily, weekly, monthly success plan. So you've identified by now, what are you going to need? What tools are you going to need mentally, physically, and emotionally to achieve your goals? Okay. That was an assignment. So if you have that list, now you can take that list, and what support system helps you execute that list. So if your goal, if part of your daily, weekly, monthly success plan is to be extremely physically fit, like dialed in, late night pizza, friend dates are perhaps not in support of that physically fit plan. Now you have two options. You can go to the friend pizza date and stand strong in your goals and not eat pizza and have planned something else for yourself. Totally good. And another option is that you've already shared with your friends that this is a goal of yours. So if they were listening and are tuned in, it might take a couple of times, but if they're listening, then they might invite you to an earlier, healthier alternative restaurant date. And you could suggest it to them as well. Um, these are conversations that will help you get what you want. Um, they're not simple conversations, but once you're in the habit of doing this and sharing with people who you are and what you stand for and what you want, it gets easier and you start doing it in a lot more ways. So you're taking that list and you are going to create your master plan. How much wall ball are you going to get on? Who, are you going to work out with someone Tuesday, Thursday? Are you hiring a trainer? Are you, what YouTube videos are you going to watch? Like, lay it all out, make yourself like a Monday through Friday plan. And then it's smart to start operating in like a quarterly mindset as well. So basically, throughout the year, around March, around June, around was it September, around December, you check in with your goals. You reassess, maybe you return back to the mindset video and you're like, okay, do I still feel how I felt? Am I getting enough? Am I getting better at lacrosse? Maybe check in with your mentor and say, hey, am I on track for playing top tier D2? Am I on track there? How's my mental game? Have I consumed some personal development, or am I kind of like slacking in that category? How am I eating? How, just using that as a guidepost, and building it into your plan. And then taking the roadmap that you laid out, you want to make sure that, like, okay, so if you want to, for instance, if you want to be recruited by senior fall, then you need to have like the skill set ideally, and be at like a steep exponential curve. This is just an example, but a steep exponential curve. You need to have gotten this much better at lacrosse by January. And we're in June right now, but you need to get better like that by January so that you can go through a full spring season if you're like a rising junior right now. So you go through a full spring season, with your teammates at a high level. You can keep getting better, but now you're getting better with like your high school team. And you can groundedly reach out to the coaches who are at that level that you want to acquire, who maybe in the summer of 21 or this summer you wouldn't have been comfortable reaching out to. Maybe by next January, if you've gotten to a certain level, and you get the green light from some of your coaches, then you reach out to like that top third of your list, your reach schools, and you say, hey, maybe share your story and say, I'm going to be at these tournaments this summer, and you coordinate with them. And then make sure that by the end of the summer, you're like applying to each school, and maybe you're going to official visits in September so that you can make sure that you're comfortable with each of those, but you've applied to all of those schools. And you're going to official visits so that by the time acceptances come in, you're signing a national letter of intent. You've already, cleared it with the coach. Like that's your home. You did your work. And all those check posts of like, okay, apply to colleges by August. So know where I want to go by summer of junior year, reverse engineer it, make your plan. I'm going to tell you, your daily plan needs to include some sort of morning routine that wakes you up strong and intentionally. It includes water, like chugging water when you wake up, ideally with lemon in it. Because I was just muted. All right, we're back. We're going to finish this out. The call dropped, but that's okay. It's back and it says it's being recorded. Okay, so I do believe we covered enough of daily, weekly, monthly success plan. I was finishing saying, great. Thank you for texting me. I was just saying that lemon water in the morning is really good for you, but definitely some water in the morning. Don't just go straight to coffee or anything like that. Make sure you chug water in the morning. Really good for you. Some sort of mindset practice in terms of like intention setting, gratitude. I like to listen to personal development in the morning or do something that nurtures myself. Make sure you're getting out in nature. Those things, like things that are just baseline human health. And have a wind down ritual. So a nighttime, like I don't have screens that it's 9 p.m. right now. So this is me not following my nightly ritual, but shut down your screens a couple hours before you want to go to bed. If you can get more hours in, that's even better, because the blue light, without going into too much science, but it tricks your mind or your hormonal system into thinking it's still daytime out, and it doesn't actually release the hormones necessary for sleep as effectively. So have a nightly situation. I am drinking some tea that is really good for nighttime. So my system is calming down even though I'm here with you now. That was my balance for it. Okay, final conversation is connections. So with planning, you just, you can even pause this and come back to this if you want, but you've just made your full plan, all right? Now, who is going to help you get there? For instance, and I've said this in a video before, I wanted to go to Davidson College. I wanted to go to Wake Forest University. My family is from Hickory, North Carolina. I had alums that are close with my family write me letters of recommendation. I do believe that helps very much, especially if you can get older alums who have contributed to the university, or in whatever way in terms of resources. Could be intellectual resources. They could, that helps. So who's going to help you get there? What coaches are going to help you get there? Your high school coach, you want to recruit them. High school assistant coaches are usually super eager and excited to help, especially if you, we have coaches this summer who are current college players and they want to be coaches someday. So they really want to foster the skills to help you guys get into college. They want to be a part of that process. Use them as resources. If you're a minors player, I am a resource. I am here, and I also offer one-on-one work. If you're in the minors this summer, I would go through this process because this process of travel, and we can talk about after summer if you wanted more intense accountability from me in one-on-one coaching. If it's not me, like, do you want to find a mindset coach? Have you gone through these videos and been like, wow, that's really important, and I want an opportunity to practice that more regularly? Who can I surround myself with to help me? What friend groups are going to be supportive of this? And this is really, really important. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge, like, how important the people you choose to be around is to your progress in life. It matters who you hang out with on the weekends. It matters it matters that the people you love, you nurture those relationships, and you make sure you express your appreciation for them, and you build those relationships. In terms of like knowledge, like, what coaches do you need? What lacrosse IQ do you need to acquire? Do you need to start following different people on Instagram so that you're immersed in your goal? Part of manifesting something is making it your entire existence. I don't love like fake it till you make it, or fake it before you make it, or whatever. But there is a practice of like embodying what you want that is super valuable. Who's going to help you embody that? It's probably not anybody that like has no goals in life and just wants to, like, I don't know, do whatever people do. Like, if you want something and you're moving towards something, start finding the people that are going to help you get there. So start making that list of mentally, physically, emotionally, who are the people to support you. And then the next step for you is to develop the skills to reach out for mentorship. So you can practice on me. If you're in the minors, you can practice with me. You can practice with your coaches. If you want to learn something, it's really powerful to go up to a coach and say, Coach, I want to learn this. Could you factor that into a practice plan, or could we like talk about it? That's not a given that people do. Like, that's a skill that some are born with it, like, I guess, or maybe they've learned it at home, but it's definitely a muscle that you want to flex, because you'll be able to use that across the board for the entire, your entire college roadmap experience is reaching out for mentorship. And then actually doing it, right? Like the next step, the part 2 of connections, like you're in part 1 right now, just watching this video. Part 2 is doing it. The next thing will be learning to contact college coaches. Now, absolutely, we will have more resources, and at some point, if you're in the YouTubes in the future, there might even be resources linked already. If you're here real live with us, they're not going to be linked right this moment, but learning to contact college coaches, what's your template email? Like, in that email, are you just going to like, hey coach, I like your school, here's my number, here's my da-da-da? Or you're going to do quality research on the school and really write a nice note to them. Make sure your information and what your request is very clear, so they don't have to like dig through what you want. Who's going to help you with formatting that? For now, minors, reaching out to your coach and working with them on a template. I know our high school coach has a template. So, and probably by the time I launch this, I will, like, if you ask me, I'll go find a template as well. So again, reaching out for mentorship, asking for what you need, okay, to do this really well. And it's not like there's no reason for you to reinvent the wheel. There's no reason for you to not use your resources that you are paying for, and that are readily available for you. So, learning to contact college coaches, making your game plan and your commitment to the follow up conversation, like we said in the last call or whenever it was. Do not ghost a coach, like making sure you're nurturing that relationship, whether you're going to go to that college or not, because that's just a good person to be. It's a good skill set to learn. I'm not saying I've always been perfect at it. I'm not saying any of us are, but definitely having it as an intention to get better at it. And then getting your templates organized and your list. Make your list. Now you've done all of this work and you're ready to start reaching out to coaches. Or maybe you're not, and you're going to return to this in your plan. You've said, okay, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this summer, and I'm going to watch this video again in September, and execute the connections phase. So that's what we have for this video. And I want to say we kept it within 45 minutes as well. As always, I'm Coach Taylor, and if you're with the minors, you already know me, and I am here to help and support. And if you're not, and you want to join the minors, holler, holler. We can talk. Make sure you're following on YouTube, because we'll keep adding videos to this. But to be clear, your homework is to establish that list. Well, first of all, do all that like journaling that I talked about with those questions. But really after this, you should be like, go through this as much as you need to be ready to reach out to college coaches. If you are in minors this summer specifically, we will be practicing this weekend at our recruiting tournament all of this, and I will be there for us to have conversations about this. So if you want mentorship and help, you will need to execute your connections phase with me. Yeah, that's where we are. It has been a pleasure and a joy, and if you're on the YouTubes in the future, welcome. Very happy you joined along for this. If you're here live, I'll see you tomorrow.